Hi, Jan here. It's been a really long time since I've sat down to have a chat with you, and I do apologise for that. First of all, housekeeping out of the way. The camera to me looks as though it's a little bit off, so if I am at an angle, I'm really sorry, but rather than stop and adjust tripods and things and procrastinate and take even longer to actually sit down and have a chat, I thought, no, I'm just going to go with it as it is. I've got two of the dogs in here with me, so you can hear they're chewing on buffalo horns and moving the tripod. Sorry, that's just life in our house. So it's been months and months and months. Last time I spoke to you, I think I was sat up in our loft and telling you we were about to have a massive amount of work done to the house. It's a whole programme of work. It's a mid-70s house that the landlord is bringing up to spec in terms of insulation. So they were doing ripping out all the old loft insulation, putting in new loft insulation, taking out all the windows, new windows going in. It's a wood-framed house with downstairs has a brick skin on the outside and upstairs was tile. All of that was coming off, re-insulating the walls from the outside in, and then instead of putting the brickwork back, we've now got kind of fake bricks. I don't know what it's called. It's supposed to look just as good, but if you think, certainly in the UK, if you think McDonald's, those horrible fake buildings that McDonald's put up, it's that kind of brick. And then upstairs, the tiles that they took off were to go back on again. Because the house was going to be so sealed with the windows and with the insulation, that can in itself cause a problem with damp. So they've put constantly running extractor fans in the kitchen and the bathroom. And in order to move the air through the house, they've cut the bottom off all of the internal doors so that it pulls the air into the bathroom and kitchen in order to extract it to the outside. Then the roof's got to come off, new roof going on. The downstairs bathroom kind of goes out and has from the house and has a flat roof. That's got to come off, new one going on. So it was really extensive building programme that was going to go on. Cheers. And we had, when they first gave us a start date, it said it was estimated to take 5 weeks, but you know how things are, it may take a couple of weeks longer. Well, it was due to start at the end of May, which is why my last videos were me clearing the loft out. I had 45 plus years of stuff that was being stored in the loft, and a lot of people said to me, well, why don't you just get rid of it all? Well, the thing is, I only put things up there that I actually wanted to keep for a reason. So that's why I didn't get rid of it. But because the loft insulation have gone from that thick to that thick, we now can't use the loft for storage. So I had to rent a garage to put everything from the loft into so that I can sort it out. Luckily I managed to get one fairly close to the house. It's about a 5-minute walk away, which isn't too bad, but if you've got anything of size that's going to the garage or coming back, you've got to go by car. And by car, you've got to drive around the outside of the estate to get to, which is a bit of a nightmare, but it's doable. And the date that they gave us that they're coming in to do the loft, everything was cleared in good time. It was a lot of stress to do it, but we managed to do it. It was all done and we're good to go. But the date that the loft insulation was due to go in, no one turned up. Okay. And then somebody was supposed to come in and start cutting the doors down, but they didn't turn up. Then we had to go out one morning. Neil, my husband, was he's had he had a worrying blood pressure reading, so the doctor wanted him to wear a 24-hour cuff that would inflate periodically over that 24 hours and give lots and lots of readings. So we were literally just about to get in the car to go off to the appointment to get that machine, have it fitted, and then he was going to take it back the following morning. And as we go outside, there's a big lorry pulled up with a load of scaffolding on it. So I said to Neil, go and ask them if that's for our house, because there's several houses being done. Next door had already had theirs gone up, and we're now on the 5th of June. So work was supposed to start 20-something of May, but we're 5th of June. And so we asked the scaffolding men, and they said, yes, it is for us. And I said, well, I'm sorry, nobody told us that you were coming today. We've got to go out. We'll be back in around about an hour. So we went out, came back in around about an hour. They were by this time a little bit annoyed because I've got a huge mobility scooter. It's an all-terrain mobility scooter. But because it won't fit through the garden gate, it's kept in a shed at the front of the house. And because of the scaffolding needing to go up, that needed to be moved, which it's a plastic shed. It's not fixed in any way to the ground, so that's not a big problem, but you've got to get the mobility scooter out first before, and of course the shed's locked, the scooter won't go without a key, and they're saying we were told that this would move, and it's like, well, it will, but we've got to get the scooter out and you'll have to wait for that. So we got the scooter out, we moved the shed, that was all right. Then 2 men turned up, said they were electricians. I had no warning that they were coming, and they wanted to fit the fans. So I've got one on the wall just to the side of the window. So that meant taking tiles off the wall, fitting a fuse further down to it. And then another one in the bathroom. So I had one man working in the bathroom, one man working in here. And it literally took them all day, drilling through the wall, because I still had the brickwork, the old brickwork was still up outside, so they had to drill right through, so there was mess and dirt everywhere. And in drilling through the wall, I've got a plug socket just in the wall just down here, and another one corresponding in the bedroom going straight up, and the electrical cable ran from the downstairs to upstairs, which nobody knew about, and they managed to cut through that. So they've had to go back, rewire that bit. Eventually, after a whole day of them doing that, the scaffolding went up. I went up to the bathroom. I've been chatting to the guy who was doing the stuff downstairs, but the one upstairs, I pretty much just left him to get on with it. When I go upstairs, he's run the power to the fan from the ceiling light all across the ceiling, around the ceiling, to a fuse box upstairs. And I was fuming because it looked terrible. You know, it's on top of all the tiles. And it's like, well, I did actually have in the wall below, under the tiles, there was an old electrical socket thing for a bathroom heater. And I said, if you'd have told me that you needed a power source, I could have pointed to where the thing is, we could have taken that plug off, but you could also run the cables up through the loft, and you know, you don't need to surface run it. But it was all too late, and it had been done, and he cut a hole in the light, the cover for the light, in order for this trunking to go through. So it just looked a total so that had happened, and then there were other things. Sorry, this is a complete tale of woe here. So there were other things going on, but the main thing was we were angry that nobody had told us that they were coming, because we knew that all the work has to be done, and in order to get it done as fast as possible, we want to be as accommodating as possible. So if you let us know what you need to do on what days, we'll make sure that we're here, we're up, we've got the dogs walked, everything that needs to be done to be out of your way is done, so you can just come in, get on with what you need to do, and we'll just get it all done quicker. So I had already contacted the customer liaison lady before the work had started, but she hadn't ever replied to me. So it was well over a week later. I said to her, I need to speak to you. So she came to the house, and I said, you know, I need to have a programme of works. So I know who's coming in, because we've got all different tradesmen doing all different things. So I know who's coming on what days, what I need to move in order, because, you know, when the windows are being fitted, obviously things need to be moved so that they can get to the windows. And so I just said, if you can just give me an itinerary so I know what's happening when. Sorry, I'm repeating myself now. And she said, well, I can't. And it's like, well, why can't you? And she said, well, I don't necessarily know. And it's like, well, what kind of business are you running? That I understand it's a main company doing it and they're using subcontractors, but surely somebody knows what's going on. Surely. So she said, well, I don't, so I can't tell you. And I said, well, what about the work? You know, the foreman on site, why can't he do it? And she said, well, he won't know either. And Neil, who has been a plumbing and heating engineer for all his working life, and he said, well, I have worked in the building trade, and he said, you absolutely can tell people what needs to be done and what day it's going to be done. Sorry, that's the dog's just knocking the tripod then. So then she started to get really angry, and she said, I am so sorry about that. And she started, by this time we're out, oh dear, he's got the foot of the tripod in between his paws and he's just moving it. Let me move it and hold it steady. There, I've got my arms holding it. Sorry about that. But if I don't go with this, then it's going to be another month before I upload anything. So if you stuck with me this far, thank you. I'll just keep going. And she was saying, I don't come to work to be told I don't know how to do my job. You knew when the scaffolding was coming. You knew what was happening because I came and told you, meaning me. And I said, no, you didn't. She had told me when they were going to put up next door scaffolding, but not when they were coming to do anything for me. And so then Neil got really angry, and he said, now you're calling my wife a liar and all this, that and the other. And it turned into a big screaming match in the middle of the street between him and this woman. Eventually she stormed off. He calmed down. He went to look for her to apologise, because he is aware that his temper sometimes, he does get angry too fast. And all the workmen that were out the front, he said, he apologised to all of them. He said, you know, you don't come to work to put up with that. I am very, very sorry. And he went to look for this woman to apologise to her. I then emailed her with another apology and said, you know, the last thing that we want is any bad feeling between us. We just want to make it better for everybody. To this day, she's never acknowledged that or apologised for her part of it, but that's by the by. So anyway, then out of the blue one day, we're into about 3-4 weeks into it by now, and I'm counting the days thinking it's only 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks. This time next year it'll all be a memory, and I can just look back and think, well, it's all done now and I don't have to worry about it anymore. But maybe 3 or 4 weeks, the windows came to be installed. It might have been longer than that actually, it might have been 5 weeks. But anyway, they came, they installed all the windows, they're here, did the whole lot all in one day, which was quite amazing. But it did mean that because of some of the things that have come out of the loft had gone into the smaller bedroom, it meant when they wanted to do the smaller bedroom, I had to move everything out of that room into the bathroom. Then they did that bedroom, then I had to move everything back so that they could come and do the bathroom. The bedrooms, we had to move furniture so that they could get to the window. It was a lot of work for us, a lot of stress, but it was all done. It's all fine. So then the men say, we're finished, we're off for the day. They head off. I go into the downstairs toilet, or bathroom as you might call it. I go in there, and the window that they've fitted in there, which is it's like an arrow slit in a medieval castle. It's a very narrow glass window. The window itself was about that wide when it was a glass window. Then they put in double glazing and it went like that. Then the new double glazing took it back to about that size. But the glass in the middle wasn't there. It had been blanked off completely, which meant that there is absolutely no light in that room whatsoever. So you can't go in there and use the toilet unless the door's wide open, so you've got light coming in through there. So I was livid about that. They had also, when they fitted the front door, I had a grab rail to help me get, because we've got quite a steep doorstep, there's a grab rail to go in and out of the front door, and they'd taken that off and it had gone completely. When they fitted the door itself, they'd taken the trim off from around the side, so we'd now got these big ugly gaps around the side. All of the windows, whereas the window itself was installed, but the trim around the edging on the sides hadn't been done, the window ledges hadn't been done, so it all just looked a complete mess. The downstairs loo, as you look up to the top of the window, there's just a hole into the roof of the downstairs loo. It just wide open. So that obviously needed a lot more work done to it. They came out eventually and sawed the bottom off all of the doors. So you had to remove every single door, take them outside to saw the bottoms off, and then come back and refit them all. I had some removable over the door hooks on them to hang, you know, coats, dressing gowns, stuff. And he'd taken off a load of things upstairs and just thrown them on top of a bed in the spare room, which would be fine, except for I had a guitar in there in a soft case that had just been laid on top of the bed, and he threw all this stuff on top of a musical instrument, so I wasn't happy about that. But then this whole saga just kept going on and on and on. You know, the weeks just kept ticking on. The scaffolding, if I just adjust the camera, that's why I'm actually sat here, so that you could see through the window. I don't know if you can see the scaffolding poles there. And you can see the side of the shed. And then we've got the beautiful trees behind that. But we've got all this scaffolding, and then the planks for walking on upstairs mean that we get no light now coming down into this room, which means that and the same thing upstairs, because we've also got scaffolding. We've got this scaffolding so they can walk on to access the upstairs, but then another layer of scaffolding so they can access the roof. But it means that none of the windows have got any natural light, because they've all got this canopy of scaffolding right outside. So today is 2nd of September 2024, depending on what year you're watching, you might like to know that. But we've got an east facing window. It's in the morning, I should have sun flooding in through the window. but I have to put the light on. Any time of day I come into this room or any of the rooms, I have to put lights on because it's just so dark. It just feels like you're living in some sort of cave that's caged in it. It feels prison-like because there are all these scaffolding poles everywhere. And then on top of that, as you know, if you watch me, we've got dogs, or if you've seen the title of the channel, the tails refer to the dog's tails. So we've got multiple dogs, and if they've been working on the scaffolding, then they don't want us to let the dogs in the garden. They're not actually, there was only 1 or 2 days when they were actually working in the garden, but if they're upstairs on the scaffolding, then things might drop off. There was one day when Neil actually walked out into the garden and somebody on the scaffolding dropped a drill with a drill bit about that long. It was about a 6-inch long drill bit that missed his head by about that much. And so they started saying if we wanted to go in the garden, then we had to get permission. But in order to do that, it meant that we had to go out of the front door, walk all around the house. If they're working on the house several doors down, we've got to walk all the way around the house, call over the back wall to them up on the scaffolding and say, we want to come out and use the garden. Just had another dog come out to see me. Hello, Echo. So it became impossible, and sometimes the dogs would be locked in the house for hours at a time. You know, they would go to lunch between 1 and 2 or something, so we would have a 1-hour window when the dogs want to go out. But if the dog needs to go out and use the garden, then they're not going to understand that you might have to wait for 20 minutes, half an hour, while I find a builder to say that we want to go out in the garden. And also when they've been working, they're dropping, bits are being dropped off from the scaffolding, which means that if there's any building debris come down or screws or something, we've got to get out there and make sure there's nothing that the dogs can get hold of that are dangerous to the dogs. All in all, it just became so stressful. We did have accidents indoors where the dogs were locked up for too long and couldn't go out. And because we had scaffolding and work going on both sides of the house, it wasn't a case of, well, if you can't go out the back, we can put them on a lead and take them to the front. It's just been a nightmare. So anyway, work started on the 5th of June. It's still ongoing. 2nd of September. We're now 13 weeks in from the day that the scaffolding went up. Still to do is they've got to strip off all the old roof tiles and put the new ones on. Sorry, that's the dogs with their buffalo horns. They have still got to do all the trims around the window. They have got to, they did eventually come back and take out the blanks on the downstairs toilet and put in a glass pane so that we could, no, down you get Oakley, put in a glass pane so we at least have light in that room now. A second electrician came out to the bathroom. We complained about all the trunking around, and he said he agreed with us that there was no need for it to have been fitted in that way, and he spent best part of a day taking out all the stuff that the other guy had done and redoing it and fitting us a new light because the old one was had been cut, the side of the lamp. It's like a, you know, these bathroom lights that have a shade that's fitted right up to the ceiling. Well, part of that has been cut out. Shush, don't say that, I'm talking. So he eventually put on a new light shade, so that didn't cost us anything. We eventually had the window people come back and fit me a new grab rail to get in the front door. But the other thing I forgot to mention was when the scaffolding first went up, they knocked our satellite dish and obscured our satellite dish, which meant for 3 whole weeks we had no TV at all. We could only watch catch-up TV on the internet, but the service that we have that we use to watch normal TV, we couldn't access at all. And I'd left it that long because I thought, well, the scaffolding's coming down, they might knock it again, it might, if I have somebody come out, I thought I was going to have to pay for the satellite firm to come out to do it for us. So I thought if I pay out a fortune for them to come out and do that, I might have to pay them again straight after. But some weeks in, it was well over 3 weeks, I complained to customer liaison lady and said, you know, we've had no TV for 3 weeks, and she actually organised for an engineer to come out. Shush! Has he pinched your buffalo horn? Were you chewing that one and he's pinched it from you? Sorry about that, it's the dogs. So they did that, but when they took the brickwork from the front of the house, that all got taken down. The cables where our telephone and internet come up from, because it's underground cable, where it comes up and comes in through the wall, that had a junction box on the outside of the wall. That box was taken off, the cover of it disappeared, so I had half a box with just wires, bare wires, just sat there at the front of the house. So I said, you know, this isn't on, that's our internet connection. We work from home, well, Neil works from home, we need internet. So I want something done about that, meaning get an engineer out with a new box and fit it now. They came out and put a plastic bag over it and secured it with a bin liner. You two, stop it. And just secured it with a bin liner. So, right, we're coming up 27 minutes and I can't remember, it's so long since I've made a film, I can't remember if this camera will shut off at half an hour. So if I suddenly disappear, then I'll do a part 2. So they came back and just put a plastic bag over it. That is still like that now. And there was something else I was going to say about, there was another disaster happened that I can't remember now. Maybe that'll have to wait for part 2. That's enough of my woes for now. So I'll call it that for now. I do want to make, because throughout all this there has been good news, so I will make another video talking about the one good thing that's happened through all this. And I also want to do another one about my brain damage. So look out for those. But right for now, take care. Lots of love. Bye.